We talk a lot about the bad news happening in the Western world. A lot of countries want to raise your taxes. They've made it harder to get a second passport to lock you in. But here's a rare piece of good news: the gold standard of second passport programs in Malta. Today I'm going to tell you why you might consider this program, and more importantly, what happened and what it means. So our own Nomad Capitalist R&D team, we've got a handful of people here. That's what they do. They keep abreast of all the developments with all the residence and citizenship and tax programs all around the world. This was a big one, though. Malta's citizenship program. It's not technically a citizenship by investment program, but it is a fast track to getting one of the best passports in the world. Malta's a European Union country. The European Union didn't like the idea that Malta could say, hey, give us, with all the fees, about $1 million, and we will give you and your family passports in about 18 months, which allow you to live not only in Malta, but allow you to live in any European Union country. You want to live in tax-friendly Ireland or Cyprus, or now Poland is on that list. Heck, Switzerland's not in the EU, but you can live there too, and you actually save 50% off their lump sum tax program. By being a European, you have access to all of that once you get Malta's passport. The European Union said, hey, we don't like that. Our countries may not do the best job screening people coming in through other routes. We hand out residence permits without, great background checks in many cases. But the person who wants to jump right to citizenship, 4 different layers of due diligence, 26% of people rejected. Quite frankly, I think I might be too controversial for Malta. They might say, we don't want some guy blabbing on YouTube. That's not enough for the European Union. Why? Well, it's, in my opinion, all about the continuing trend in legacy brand countries and at the European Union, the Brussels level, about hating on wealth. Now, you're going to say, it's the wealthy people who are buying off the politicians. Yeah, the wealthy people who are buying off the politicians and creating the corruption in the Western world aren't generally the ones that we see who want these programs. It's people like me, it's people like you, who don't have a dog in the fight. We're from a Western country. We see our freedoms going away. We see the country changing. We see taxes going up. We see politicians from Kamala Harris to the new Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves regime in the UK to Anthony Albania, saying, hey, we got to raise your taxes. And we just want a place to go and be left alone. And we're at the point where it's like, yes, I want to be a dual citizen. Maybe I love my country. I don't know that I ever loved my country that much, but maybe you love your country. But yet, you know what? I love myself more. I want a backup plan. I want to be Maltese. And if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, the kind that we work with here at nomadcapitalist.com/apply, $1 million is not chump change, but it is the price to give you, your children, your grandchildren, all the future generations access to living in Europe. And I happen to think someone who can drop $1 million on that, who passes a criminal background check, who's of good character, that's the kind of person you want in your country. And Malta wants it because they're a small country and every $1 million moves the needle. They're actually economically sustainable, unlike most Western countries. And what does every loser hate? A winner. What does every person who's down in their luck hate? A guy who has flush with cash. Malta has used the citizenship program to put their own economy in a better position. The European Union does not like that. Here's an article from Fortune magazine. It talks about how golden EU passports for the rich, the evil, disgusting rich, you filthy animals, get legal boost at the bloc's highest court. So, Golden Visa is a residence program where you're investing money, you get a residence permit, and maybe there's relaxed conditions for naturalization in the future, but you're not getting citizenship. So the media, which doesn't understand this stuff, but they don't like you having options. They buy into the politicians' idea, shut down the options for people. The media has adopted golden passports. Nobody calls it a golden passport except for the media, okay? Fortune says European Union law doesn't stop Malta from doling out EU citizenship to rich foreign investors, an advisor of the bloc's top court said in a case that could set the bar for the golden passport programs across the region. There are no other programs in the region. Cyprus had one. There was some shenanigans going on in Cyprus. That got shut down. Bulgaria had kind of a hybrid fast-track program. There's still a slow-track program there, but the fast-track one got shut down. There are, programs if you are someone who does something substantial, you might be granted citizenship, but that's not a commoditized program. And then, of course, there's citizenship by descent. You can get citizenship in Europe, but that's an entirely different animal altogether. So there's basically one so-called golden passport program in Europe. Will more countries unveil this? Well, a lot of countries wouldn't benefit from it. France does not need $1 million or $2 million from a few thousand people. That's not going to move the needle. Malta is a very small country. It moves the needle for them. That's why you see small countries offering citizenship by investment, or Malta calls the MAIN program. That's why you see them offering them. And here's why I think you want a passport in a smaller country. I never had the ego like, oh, I'm from the US, we're a big, powerful country. I think being from a big, powerful country is going to come with more baggage, because you see increasing geopolitical infighting. You're seeing, the US and the EU and China kind of nitpicking at each other through things like tariffs and trade wars and that kind of stuff. It's going to make it harder for your business to do business internationally. I think that carrying some of these name brand passports, legacy brand country passports, is going to put you at a disadvantage in years to come. I'd rather be from a place no one's heard of and no one's got a problem with. And so Malta is in the EU, and maybe there's something that comes with that. I still think having a couple different second passports is a good idea. Maybe you get one in Malta, and once you're spending $1 million, make it $1.25 million, and you get one in the Caribbean as well. And they're not part of any bloc that people don't like. But these small countries are going to give you more opportunities, in my opinion, in years to come. And that's because they realize they have to be competitive. Malta is fighting for its right. It fought for its right to say, we have sovereignty in our country. We choose who to give citizenship to. And if we choose to do that as a transaction that benefits our country, our economy, and our people, you can't stop us. We're allowed to manage our own national sovereignty. It says something with the European Union that they thought that. And they said, no, we get to choose who you make a citizen. Please, let's take in more people who aren't bringing money, who aren't bringing skills, who don't want to learn the language. That's somehow superior. Listen, I'm very pro-immigration, including naturalizing people who live in countries. I'm for that. And we help people who don't want to spend $1 million on a passport get citizenship in Europe by just the old-fashioned way, going there and living there. But if someone can spend $1 million to contribute to an economy, what's wrong with that if they've gone through the proper checks? The tiny islands nation's cash for citizenship offer, says Fortune, which grants nationality to the wealthy. Among them, always got to have this part. Among them, Russian oligarchs, which they haven't done since the beginning of the war. Celebrities, those damn celebrities. And millionaire sports stars was wrongly attacked by the EU's executive arm, according to Anthony Collins, an advocate general of the EU's Court of Justice. He said the European Commission lawyers failed to prove that EU law requires there to be a genuine link between a member state and a passport applicant. He said it's for EU countries themselves to determine who is entitled to be one of their nationals, and as a consequence, who is an EU citizen. Technically is no EU citizen, but you're a citizen of an EU member state, and therefore you have all the privileges to go about where you want. Listen, here's what I always say. If you don't want to be part of a club where every member gets to set some of their own rules, don't be part of the club. Right? If you sign up to be in the European Union and you voted Malta to come in, and they get to choose who's a citizen of their country, listen, Ireland or Bulgaria or France or Spain, they get to make anyone they want a citizen through their own criteria, and those people can move to Malta. And I would argue Malta is much more vulnerable to people from all across Europe coming in. Malta has a great tax-friendly program. If you want to live in Europe, if you want to live in a small country, you want to live in the Mediterranean, they've got a good tax-friendly program. People from all over Europe might want to move there as taxes are going up. You'd think, hey, they're a small country. They're less able to take people on from across Europe. But the rest of Europe gets to let Malta in and then dictate rules to Malta that they don't want to apply to themselves. Just seems a bit ridiculous. And so some good news, it appears that Malta is on the right track. There is some pushback against the golden visa and also citizenship by investment and these kind of citizenship programs. Why? Well, for the very reason that I think you need them, because a lot of people in the West, as the world becomes more competitive, as the BRICS nations and those like them decide to chart their own course, you're going to see wealth stagnate, at least comparatively, in places like Europe. And people are going to be angry. Right? When the money's flowing in, no one really cares who's a citizen, is my argument. But now things are getting worse. People are feeling the squeeze. Their countries aren't as competitive as they used to be, or now they have more competition. And suddenly, we got to blame the rich. Now, it's a tale as old as the hills, but it's only being exacerbated. And so that exactly is why you want these programs, because just as Ireland stood up for Apple when the EU said Apple should have paid more tax, Ireland's like, no, we don't want the money, thank you, we want to be pro-business, please. Malta is standing up for its right to give citizenship to people that it deems are appropriate, and they do a lot more checks than other places in Europe. I've seen some of these residence programs in Europe, the check they do. They punch your name into a system, all right, you're clean, great. They're not looking into your businesses, they're not looking into a lot of stuff that could be an issue for character or for legality even. Malta does that. So here's the bottom line. I think if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, those are the people that we help here at Nomad Capitalist, nomadcapitalist.com/apply. I would argue you want to have 2-second passports. You don't need to go to the level that I'm at, but I think if you have 3 passports, you're in good shape. What a lot of clients are doing now is 1 foot in the West, 1 foot in somewhere that's more emerging or in the East. So Malta, if you can afford the $1 million, that's in the West. Again, move to Switzerland, pay half the tax you would as an American, Canadian, Australian, what have you, because that's the privilege that Europeans have. Travel anywhere in the world that you want. You are the citizen of an EU country, pretty much everywhere you want, visa-free, including, generally speaking, the United States, if you're American and you ever chose to give up that citizenship. So it's a place that, it's a passport that's equal to any other you could have. And what clients are also doing is they're getting a lesser passport. They might go to Turkey and make a real estate investment, get a passport there. Turkey wants to join BRICS. They're more neutral in some of these things recently. Or they might go to the Caribbean. Hey, tax-friendly countries there, totally off the radar. So Malta is, for those who can afford it, the creme de la creme. Now, if you're fortunate enough and you have an ancestor from Europe that qualifies you for citizenship by descent, we help people do that as well, you're going to get by for pennies on the dollar compared to what you'd pay for Malta. It's probably going to take longer, but if you qualify for citizenship by descent, you should probably go that route. You don't need Malta. But for the rest of us who don't have European ancestry that qualifies us for citizenship, and you want that foot in the West, you want that foot in a country that has a great passport, it doesn't get any better than Malta. And you can travel all around the world. Just talk to a Maltese person. They're born there, a couple months ago. They're traveling all around the world. They don't give a second thought about visas. We help people figure out these options at Nomad Capitalist. We can walk you through. It's not for everybody, Malta, but my thing is a program that is the gold standard in an industry where programs constantly come and go. I would get it while I can. They've already raised the price once by 100,000 euros, not the end of the world, but hey, that was a couple years ago. You missed your chance to pay less. It's already a bit more involved. And I think these programs only get harder over time. The EU is not going to stop pushing back on these. Perhaps Malta survives, but if nothing else, they'll just make it more of a pain. So you can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and we will help you. We talk about all these passports at our annual event, Nomad Capitalist Live. Good news from Malta and a reminder of the impermanence of freedom and options that let you keep it.